This hangout is on the air. Oh no, this
Nice.
hangout on air is live. There we go. David, what's up, man?
Hey Chris, how are you doing?
Um, we have sometimes more format for this. Like last week, we had a really tight format. We wanted to hit these topics and everything. This week, and then we were surprised by two AV peers that were hanging out asking questions, which was awesome. Um, this week, I didn't write a whole lot of things down because I wanted to just go off the top of my head what I was excited about. It was a big week because of the developers conference, so there was tons to talk about. Um, Before I jump in, what you have anything to say?
Yeah, but later on. I'll save it for later until we've covered all the episodes of this week and WWDC and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing to mention is um, we're getting better with this format. We say this every week, but this week it's true. So if you go to abpweekly.com, you can push refresh and play, or you could just push play right now, I think, and it'd catch up. And you could be watching, interacting with us live. I don't know if there's a way on Hangout yet to include like 10 people to all talk together, and I'm not sure if
Mhm.
that's what we want, but for sure, if you have questions or topics or whatever, there's Q&A down there. We know that works because it worked last week. Um, okay, so enough about that, the ABP Weekly. This week, Worldwide Developers Conference, I'm not normally that guy that gets all excited. This was a huge one for us, for developers and publishers, both. Developers got a ton of stuff to chew on. Publishers have a ton of stuff to test and figure out what's going on and how it impacts everything. And this seemed like the great step forward for Apple. I mean, like this was a 5-year type style release. Did it feel like that to you?
Absolutely, yeah. So in terms of news for developers, in terms of I mean, even some developers were not that excited because they said, most of this we actually should have gotten over the last 5 years. But
That
the
logic.
fact that they packed it all into one release makes it pretty enormous. So
Yeah, and they got everything that they had wanted. So,
yeah.
um, what were the big things that they wanted? Was it the new programming language?
Oh, a lot of things. Like a lot of developers were. I mean, you're not excited about that, but a lot of developers were actually waiting for this editor's choice thing because they
Mm-hmm.
think that having a badge on there will enable them to create better applications and sell more.
Uh, you
I,
don't.
I think that's a typical. I mean, that could be a typical developer versus marketer discussion right there, because I think in the developer community there's still this you wish for if I just write great software, I can make a lot of money, and ignoring marketing basically.
Right.
And I think that's still what a lot of developers want to get, and they think that this editor's choice can give them that, which
Uh,
I would not agree with, and you would even more not agree with. Uh,
yeah.
but but that's why they are excited about that.
Okay,
Uh,
that makes that didn't come up in our discussion. Hey, we only had 2 hours to talk. But that's an interesting insight because I forgot that a lot of the time we're talking to developers and that's one of the big things is they don't understand the value of a marketing partner. And marketing partners tend to brand themselves like it's hard to tell the good ones from the bad ones. You
oh
almost have
yeah.
to find someone who says, "Here's the apps I've been involved in, and here's the rankings and downloads and revenue." Right? But that's really interesting. And we were talking about raising the bar for app publishers and developers, meaning Apple doing it. Creating videos is one of the ways where it makes it harder. It's more obvious if your app has had very little effort put into it besides slapping on some new designs and a new theme and publishing it out there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you invest in a video, it takes that next level of investment. But the publisher's choice thing, I've had several apps featured, and you're right, it would be a nice way to say, look, this app is different than all these other fake ones that came after mine. Which that was the first time I knew I had made something cool in the App Store was when I had a ton of copycats and I had a ton of 99 cents. Here's the answers to all the questions or however it was phrased. Get the answers for his test. But yeah, this happens sometimes where I come in with an idea and then you present the other side or your side or someone else's side, and it kind of changes how I think about it. That definitely separates I don't like curation, and I've expressed that a lot of times. I don't trust some 22-year-old in Cupertino to curate apps
Yeah.
across a bunch of things. And I've seen the way they deny apps, and they struggle big time. Like, I don't even know what they're talking about half the time. Every time I get an app denied, I escalate and get it approved. I've had like 2 that haven't made it through because
Yeah.
they're nonsensical
Denials.
nonsensical
Yeah.
rejections. Yeah, but maybe it's not the same people curating. I tend to think that it's kind of similar groups, but
Well, it's definitely not the same people. You know,
right,
those.
they
Yeah.
have a job already, right?
Yeah. The guys who reject or not reject your apps, they are in very low regard in the developer community. But
Yes.
the people who actually feature, the team who actually features apps on the store, they usually do a good job on featuring them. But you know, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I'm not 100% in your camp, but I kind of agree with you that the developer community is running or chasing after something that doesn't exist in some, you know, in the purest sense. That
If they build it, they will come.
Yeah,
Mind frame or whatever. Yeah.
because it's kind of this frustration that something like Flappy Birds, you know, gets all this attention, all the money, or
Yeah.
some stupid slot machine makes a lot of money. That what's frustrating serious developers who are creating awesome software, and I can
Yep.
understand that. But
Those are outliers, though. It's like we need to remind them and give them a hug. Hey, man, that's not normal. Look at the
yeah,
ones that
well,
really do well.
that's right, but also B, they're kind of, you know, putting the blame on Apple or thinking they can fix it, where some, you know, people actually buy Candy Crush or people actually buy Flappy Birds. It's real people. There's no evil force, you know, doing it all behind the curtain, and we can stop it from infiltrating people. People like that stuff, and we just have to, in a way, accept that you know, it's not always going to be the most sophisticated software that will make money. Sometimes it's also going to be very simple, in our point of view, a little bit stupid software that's just fitting the market exactly or perfectly. And
Yeah,
so
that's worth, and we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. It's been a while since we really dug in, but the best software isn't measured by how well it's written. Maybe if you're in a development environment and you're judging each other based on how well you wrote your code, sure, but it's based on how well the market it's based on market fit, right? And so
yes,
there's so much more between retention and monetization that go into great software that I mean, I almost think at this point it's impossible to write great software without a great marketer involved, because you need, unless the developer is very keen to understanding retention and game mechanics, which are then translate into monetization, you don't have an app. Like, it's not an app that has commercial value, meaning that it's viable. You can make it as a charity case, but if you're trying to make a business out of your software, you need to understand those things. And if you don't or don't have a partner, then it's not great software. You know, I mean, not trying to bash developers, but we come up to this all the time. Like, marketers just want the developers write the code, and developers think they don't need the marketers. Like, they're both not
yeah,
giving
and
the other side enough credit.
it's not black and white, of course. You know, there's a lot of developers who can value the marketing, but generally
Right.
speaking, you know, that's still a trend that I see.
Well,
Um,
we're gonna do a couple of things came up on I forget which one it was. It was either Patrice's conversation or we had a 2-hour worldwide developer conference, like mini conference with 2 of us. And we're gonna air that Monday because it's so timely, and we
yeah,
just figure we can, we're in charge. We know the bosses, so we can put it in front. But something came up on that conversation, which was, 90% of the industry is indie dev. 90% of the developers and publishers work on teams of 10 or less. There's Zynga and EA and King and Supercell and a lot of other big names, but 90% of the people involved aren't working for those guys. So the people we're talking to are all those indie devs, and then maybe the developer that works on a team at King or in Finland at Supercell, right? that
Yeah.
wants to go out on his own. So the audience for what we're talking about here is really large, which was I think they came up on Patrice's call because it's like, dude, you're going to make so much money on this video machine. But it's kind of where I was going with this is we're building that series that we're both really excited about, building an app business. And while it's great for marketers and publishers, it's not even a reminder. It's like a best practices overview, or more than an overview, but best practices discussion. It's going to be invaluable for developers who understand code and want to be good and great at programming and developing great apps, but haven't properly weighed in all the value of the business of apps. And I think that's where the series is really going to resonate with that developer over at King or Supercell, or with that developer that's been writing Mac applications or other software and wants to dig into mobile, or has spent a year in mobile and hasn't figured it out yet. I'm hoping this really resonates with that group, because I think that's the group that really needs it. Like, it's not like they're bad people or stupid or something. It's just that I don't think they fully understand how valuable marketing is to the equation. It's not fake. It's not like cheesy, and it's not underhanded. It's real.
It's really understandable, because you look at the market and you look at these apps and you think, wow, how can they make so much money with such a simple app? But rather than thinking that and rambling about it, you should maybe ask yourself, how can this actually be possible? And then it's pretty clear how it's possible. It's most of the time there's more behind it than you think, and also there's much more marketing behind it than you think.
Yeah.
So
that was the big thing that came out of the developers conference that I think is it definitely leveled the playing field against, not against, kind of against people like Supercell and King paying $3 for an install and just being able to own the top 25 because they have the cash.
That's right.
And it's fair. They figured out how to monetize at $5 a user, so they'll buy them at $3 all day. That's awesome. But it definitely gives us a chance to market our way to the top, And of course, we can build retention and monetization stuff into the apps to better compete once we have a download to make more money. So, yeah, this was a really fun week for me. I mean, really, because so much to think about from the developers conference, and then we're doing exciting things too. So, I think we might have lost David. It looks like his screen is frozen, and he said before we started that you're back. Okay, we lost you for a little bit there. Yeah, it actually looked like you fell asleep just staring off to the left. But did you hear what I was saying, or do I need to say it real quick?
No, I did reconnect somehow. I don't know. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. But anyways, yeah. So I was just saying it was a fun week, and I want to review my week real quick because I've got a lot of cool, exciting stuff, and I'm hoping that by me sharing some of my stuff, it's what's it called? Influences or wears off on some other people that get pumped up because they see me getting pumped up. But
right.
So go ahead.
Where we left off in terms of WWDC is videos,
yeah.
And I think videos is just another thing that people have wanted for a long time, and so some people feel they should have gotten it much earlier, but actually it's pretty cool that we have it now and that it's all at the same time, because that will be it would be kind of a race, right? Because you can't do everything, so you have to choose your battles now, and I think video is going to be something that's going to be pretty important for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a great way to tell the story of your app and why it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think what we've come out is from a lot of the marketing type announcements was that there's going to be a lot better way to differentiate yourself, your apps, from the vast, the other million 1024s or 2048 apps, or the other Flappy Fish apps. You'll be able to tell which one's the good one because it has the best video and has the editor's choice button. You kind of converted me on the editor's choice button.
Didn't really want to, but
yeah, I know that's not your goal. Like, our goal isn't to like talk each other into stuff, but this is the benefit, is you talk through stuff and hear other sides, and
All right.
All right, so I wanted to share my week real quick. Is now a good time?
Yeah, it's a good time because we spent way too much time on the WWDC again.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, it was huge, huge release, huge announcements. Um, okay, so I've kind of nailed down my businesses to five businesses, four kind of new ones, ABP being one of them, and uh, and then BGB, which is where I still pump out the apps. So I've got BGB, I've got App Business Podcast, I've got the Persona app, which is the opt-in mobile, right? It's in beta. I've got 9 prepays, which is really exciting to have prepays.
That's
I got
awesome,
the
dude.
yeah, it's
You got it.
and only
Like,
go
sorry.
ahead. No,
Yeah,
you
like
go.
once you have this in beta or released, you have to do a complete covering
Yeah.
how you did this because I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's cool to be part of groups that respond to these kinds of things. Like, it's not like I have a huge Twitter following. Like, I'm brand new to all this stuff, like the Twitter
Yeah.
stuff and everything. So it's not like I have this internet marketer that has a list of 10,000 people. Like, I just went onto a forum and said, "Hey, here's my offer." Um, but of the 9 people, I only knew one of them, Harry, from Podcast Junkies, and I know him just a little bit, right, from being in a couple forums with him and being a guest on a show. So the rest of them were like straight cold. Hey, I don't know this guy, but he seems like he's cool and he's got some good endorsements. So here's $100, right? So it's not a ton of money, but it's money. It's real money that was sent to me for an app idea. And I can't stress enough how important it is to charge early on because nothing like getting a lot of people will take stuff for free, charge $1, and they'll start
Think
finding
about it. Yeah.
reasons. Yeah, right. And
Right.
then all the issues race to the top, which is great. Um, but so it looks like you're drinking a 40 of beer, by the way,
This is
like a
actually very popular among developers. It's called
Club
Club.
Mate.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
think it's a German thing.
Yeah.
I think it's very high in
Yeah, that's what
caffeine.
our 40s look like in the United States. Like 40 ounce of beer. So Persona app was going really well, and I got the first test flight build last night, and it looks really cool, and it's like on the way, and it's gonna work.
Oh,
And the
great.
question is the market fit. Like my vision is gonna come exactly how I wanted it from explaining it to the developer and wireframing. So that's the cool part. And Deanna did all the design, so it's like a true like 100% me effort. Um, and so that's exciting. Persona app's kind of moving along. Uh, App Jetpack Jesse is about a week away, although we've been a week away for like 3 weeks, but a week away from having me being able to add apps and push, analyze, and all the triggers come up. So I've just kind of decided that the best thing I can do for App Jetpack is continue to build great content with you for the podcast and kind of like raise my get the people to trust and understand what I'm talking about, or show my genuine self. And if people think I'm full of crap, then they won't buy it. But if how I talk and I don't know what the right words are, but if people like me or trust what I'm trying to do, then that will be good for App Jetpack. So that's kind of my strategy right now. And then the App Business MBA, I don't even think I have the URL live yet. I'm building the site, but that's a forum I'm working on, kind of like Dumas's Podcast Paradise, which I joined, but you have access to. And it's like 150 5 to 10 minute videos that walk you through the whole process. So putting all those things together, it's like my weeks fill up with my new businesses, and then we have things you and I are doing, like the Build a Business app, Macaroon Mania, or whatever it's going to be. So it's kind of, I feel like I'm moving, and we're meeting with a sponsor this afternoon. Kind of feel like I'm moving past my BGB quiz app, you know,
But it's
how
still kind of the foundation, and that's where it all started. So I think
it yeah.
that's why it's so relevant to listeners as well, as they can see you progress on that. Because it's not like you have started with $100,000 in the bank and created giant projects from that and giant businesses,
Yeah.
but you hustle your way up from doing these smaller apps with with BAB, so BGB,
Yeah.
so that it's just cool to see how you can progress on that.
if anyone ever asks me about my apps, I always say, look, I wouldn't be here if I didn't do those, right? You
All right.
can't skip those steps. You need the experience, and it's embarrassing. Golden Beauty Meter, yeah, that's embarrassing, but guess what? That was 2 years ago, and it was my first try to get an app in the store, and it went in the store, and it had an ROI in 9 months, and it was crappy. But it still makes money, and so it's definitely exciting to feel like, okay, I'm turning the corner from, I mean, BGB is still going to be BGB. It's just the apps are going to be bigger and
Right.
bigger risk because I'm ready for more risk. I can handle not making money for 6 months if we can keep improving the app and figuring out retention and monetization, and then building, like I'd like to be building these economic apps 2 years from now. So, yeah, this was another week where it's like, oh, this is the new business that I've got, which is really exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then a lot of the guys that we talk to in our forums and stuff, they're doing new cool stuff. So it's exciting to see our network kind of grow up together. Like even Ryan, I think Ryan's watching right now. I met him in Bangkok last year, and we started talking, and he got all excited about mobile, and I'm the same way. And he went through the exact same experience I went. He went through the, hey, if I buy this code and I reskin it 10 times and I make $5 per reskin, and started doing the math. And then he realized, well, that's not really that rewarding. So let me try to build a service. And he did. And he hooked up with Heim, and he's doing SEO services. And now he's working with Gab, and like he's full on Mr. Mobile guy. And like he's left, I think he was like I don't know what it's called, sailed ships, like he sailed ships somehow or something. But Ryan, you're down there in the question and answer, so you could answer. But yeah, so now he's working with Gab and doing his own projects, and like he's Mr. Mobile guy. So it's really fun to see these guys a year, 6 months later, like jumping in with us. Yeah, it just feels like this stuff's working, and it's exciting to be like working long term, not like the bullshit reskinning thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're done with your week so far?
Yeah, today I'm gonna talk to a sponsor. We're gonna work on the Build a Business Macaron Mania thing, and I'm gonna
Nice.
spend a lot of time on the forum because in order to drive traffic to a webinar, which is how I talk about the forum, it's not really a forum. It's like an educational center. I don't
Yeah.
want to like make it sound like it's in competition with Mobile 10X,
Well, it's more like
App
an
Masters.
academy, right? It's like an academy,
Yeah,
what you would call
yeah,
it, probably.
yeah. Appbusinessacademy.com was taken, if I remember correctly, because we looked for that one. Uh, and then, yeah, and then I'm gonna have to buy Facebook ads, so it's gonna be a little bit of a financial scary thing to like get out there and drop $500 driving traffic to a webinar. Saludos. So, anyways, it's been a big week, and then today's gonna be a big day, and we're gonna take the next step on Macaron Mania, which is exciting. Yeah, I mean, you can tell how I talk. Like, dude, I get excited when we
Oh,
are
yeah.
able to move forward because it's
Yeah, it's
rad. Stuff's
absolutely
cool.
exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally cool. Yeah, I did. I spent the week doing a lot of technical, really geeky stuff, and I really enjoyed it. Going back into developer mode,
Hmm.
But so we're probably going to move the App Business Podcast site to a new server, and that is more reliable then and should be more safe because right now we're hosting two different sites on the same server and that kind of stuff. That's what I was looking at this week, and also, give me a second. I was starting to read this. He's on writing well.
I think I typed into Kevin, hi Kevin, I meant to type welcome, but you said reliable, like about the server, and I typed in reliable. Just thought I'd share that. Said, hi Kevin, reliable. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm reading that book to hone my writing skills a little bit because we're going to be writing a lot for the building an app series, right? And I'm really excited about that. And I can't tell right now how long it's gonna take or how much work it's gonna be. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Anyway.
yesterday I did a webinar with Gab, or no, Steve P. Young, sorry, and we had uh, 25 people on the webinar, which was pretty cool. and no Facebook ads or anything, just blasting it to his list, and we sent it once to the ABP list, and we talked about ad stuff, but what I found, and I was kind of like the main speaker, right? What I found the best by far of that experience was forcing myself to go back and research some of this stuff. So it's just another reminder that, like the ABP, forcing yourself to be the guy, the expert, right? The guy who's going to bring all the latest data. I mean, the value's in the research. Like the webinar or the actual series, when we start doing it, is almost going to be like, it's easy to do because you've spent so much time researching it and writing it. I think you're going to find that, holy smokes, you're going to learn a lot just by putting yourself in the position to have to research it, you know?
Definitely, definitely. And even if nobody listened, and we say that all the time, it's still worth doing because you learn so much in the process, and you wouldn't do it otherwise.
Yeah. I think the audience only sees you, so I think I messed it up. Remember earlier I put it on you? So I don't know if there's a way to make it who's talking. Like right now I'm doing that manually. See how I'm doing that?
What?
No? Yeah, anyways, I messed it up, but you're better looking. We'll put it on you. But yeah, that building an app series I'm really looking forward to, and I'm hoping, and I do this a lot with everyone I work with, but I'll do it with you live, is Hemingway said, write drunk, edit sober, and the idea behind that is just keep writing and writing and writing, and we'll figure out a way to trim it down or make it more focused, because I'm really looking forward to digging into that series. I think that's going to be, I mean, look at the Facebook comments and the emails we get. It's like the number one thing is, hold on,
they're so
how
excited.
do we do this? How do we do this from the whole thing? Like, I don't get it. So that's why I think the forum or the academy or whatever is going to be a hit, because it's like, yeah, it's expensive, but it's going to save you months, maybe years, and it's going to just save you money too, because you're going to see what people are doing for best practices, right? And I'm hoping our series on the podcast does the same thing. Saves people time, saves people money, gets them jamming.
And if we're doing it well, it might be something like the foundation of the academy, because when we planned this, we said, hey, what can we do on an audio medium, with a podcast? What can we cover? And we can, very well cover the why, why you should do this or why you should do that, and what you should do, the different steps. But what we cannot show you is how to actually do it. We cannot show you how to go to your iTunes Connect, log in, add a new app. You fill in that field, fill in this field. We cannot show this on a podcast. We cannot talk you through it, but we can show it on video or in tutorials. And that's what the academy is gonna be, right? That's what the forum is gonna be.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a couple things. Like yesterday when I talked on the webinar, was I use AdColony and Vungle, because when I started using video ads, those were the only two really real players there and viable players there. And now there's additional ones. There's MoPub and there's InMobi and there's others. So I said, look, you guys need to be doing all this through MoPub. And I'm not even doing that, because when I set it up, there were two. So basically where I'm going at is there's tons of subjects that people are asking questions about that we need to go figure out.
I need to tell you about something. Okay. So my business partner, Stefan, he recently recreated an app that was our very first app. It's called Send to Done. And, it was the very first app we ever did, so it was really shitty. And we put it on the store ages ago, and we never really touched it. And now, basically years later, we now decided to that it was actually a very decent idea, a very good idea. It's a productivity system, productivity to-do app for the Send to Done system, and it's super simple to do. So it would be really fast to recreate, but to do it really nice this time, really right with sync and all that. And he has done it with hoodie integration and all that. But why I'm telling you this is that he's basically in the final stages of development now. And he was like, hey, I have to only fix this bug and then we can publish it. And I was like, hold on, dude. I learned something on the App Business podcast. when you're done with the last bug, that does not mean we can release it on the store. We'll need like a video, we'll need like beta testing, we'll need like screenshots done, all that kind of stuff. And in that moment, I just realized today that, and it was today, you know, it was by lunchtime, and I just realized how much I've learned on this podcast from you, and just from researching, and just from being aware that those things exist, and that, you know, being a developer, you might ignore that and think, okay, it's done. You know, development's done. I can publish it now, and you totally ignore the marketing side of it. So I think there was a cool, anecdote from today.
Dude, I'm learning from myself and the research too. Like, you know, like I was saying for Macaroon Mania, we need to like have a landing page, only because it's like I was editing our episodes, thinking, hold on, we gotta follow our own best practices, and they really are. It is something like you have to pick where you spend your energy. But I think at this point, especially with the direction of test flight and having beta testers, getting a landing page up and doing some of that stuff is huge. But yeah, totally. MoPub is something that I think the audience and just this community, ad mediation in general, and optimizing that, I think that is something that everyone listening is really gonna. That's going to be a need, whether that involves real-time bidding or integrating Facebook ads and all this stuff. There's just a lot of moving things right now. Like this last 30 days has been probably the most things that have happened in mobile since I've been involved. Like the biggest 30 days ever, between the Facebook ads announcements and just the steps that InMobi and MoPub are taking, and then of course the Apple's conference. I mean, it's been fun, and this is why I got into this, because I figured I could keep learning and keep growing with it instead of being in some stodgy old industry. So.
You think we should go for some Q&A?
Do we have some?
I don't know. If the listeners want to submit something, we'd be happy to stick around a little and answer some questions, right?
Yeah, guys, last week we had a couple of the guys from, I'm going to forget their company, but they had a Stickman trampoline app that killed it, like 1.5 million downloads or something, and we went back and forth and rapped for like an hour.
That was cool. Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I really like the question and answer, because a lot of times I don't know the answer, but it's cool talking through what the potential solutions are and stuff. So,
talking about checking it out, by the way, we have decided we are going to put the weeklies on the podcast, feed, the regular feed as well. And so if you miss a weekly, it will be there for your convenience. Yeah. And also, if you have attended the live show and you don't want to re-watch it, we don't have any hard feelings if you delete it. So.
Yeah, and you can go back. We have a YouTube channel. Like we think this conversation that we're having, there's a whole theory about multicast marketing, and it's like being everywhere. And there's only so many places that video and audio make sense. But podcast obviously is one. And then we're on SoundCloud, and then we're on YouTube. So I think those are good spaces for us to have conversations. And then, of course, the Facebook group, which if you guys aren't on the Facebook group, go check it out. I know Ryan joined today. I'll have to look and see if I think Andrew joined yesterday, and I'm not sure if Kevin's involved in that or not, so I'll have to go look. But Andrew's forming the question. $10 is on MoPub. That's my guess, because Andrew and I have talked offline on email before.
Yeah, the Facebook group is getting really exciting. I mean, at the beginning it was just 3 people or so. That was kind of nice, but now I think it's 25 members, and we're getting questions and discussions going in the comments. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, and it's a private group, so it's everything we talk about is private. I mean, we have 25 members. Wow. I approve everyone that joins, but if anyone is selling crap or just annoying, we'll get rid of them. I don't mean to make it sound so cavalier. Not if they're annoying. If they're clearly breaking the rules of the group, which we don't have any rules. It's like common sense rules. This is a group that is trying to help each other out and make stuff happen. Bam, that's the group. Kevin, oh, you did join. Okay, I just did a search and I couldn't find you, but good. That link was for you, but it looks like you're on there. Um, yeah, I think that Facebook group can kind of serve as our home base for discussions, and it's already like getting like, hey, we like the 30-minute better than the 10-minute, or hey, you guys can you cover this, or you know.
So let's ask a question. So Andrew asked a really interesting question. I'm just going to read it for the listeners who are not in the chat right now. So he's basically asking what's the best idea to gather some funding for an app idea. And in his particular case, he is working with a cognitive psychology PhD who has an idea for a certain app, and now the question is, how are you going to fund that? And Chris, you suggested apps funder, but I would actually.
I'm not done typing actually. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thinking is, personally, I would always prefer to have the same model that you have with the Persona app with Opt-in Mobile. So you pre-sell the app to some customers who could be interested in that. The cool thing about pre-selling is that you don't actually have to take some formal funding and don't give away stake in your company or anything like that. In your case, Chris, I mean that's a little easier because you have some bigger customers. Like your customers are paying much more than a consumer would for a consumer app, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I don't really know, who this app is aiming at. Maybe you can aim it at bigger groups who might then buy it in a license or something like that. But if that's not the case, if you want to make it a consumer app, Andrew, then there's all these resources that Chris has just copied in there.
Yeah, let me weigh in on that as well.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, for me, for Persona, well, just in general, the way that App Jetpack as well, like anything we do, I think it's really important to crush your dreams as early as possible, right? Fail as fast as you can. Mm-hmm. So you want to get the market to give you money as fast as you can, or not give you money, because if they're not interested, it's either your copy or your product, or there's no market fit, right? Like no one wants what you're selling. And the quicker you can fail, yeah, it crushes your dreams, and trust me, it sucks being into something and then no one wants it. So you just have to get past that and see if the market wants it. So I did that with Persona because I'm on the DC and I have this group of 900 people that I could say, look, there's a DC special. I'm only allowing DC people to beta, but I'm going to make you guys pay $100 up front. So that one was a natural fit with my normal community. The dyslexia app is harder unless the doctor has a network of other doctors. Like they could treat it like medicine, right? Other doctors recommend the app. Unless there's a group that you can pre-test this with, I would say that, you know what I mean? Not pre-test the app, but pre-test the market. That's what I would do first. Go and see if you can't get 100 people to pay $10 or whatever it's going to cost. I mean, charging for teaching dyslexics to read, that's more than a $10 app. That's like a $50 a month subscriber thing. I mean, you could certainly deliver it in an app, but that's a bigger problem and a more valuable solution than $10 one-time thing, right? So
right. So that's what I was trying to hint at, is if you have any kind of monetization that is working along the lines of what Chris just suggested, then wouldn't it be better to have a stripped-down version, maybe an info, quote-unquote, product that you could give away on an email list to get some people on an email list, a couple of hundred, and test it on the email list if there's some market response and pre-sell it, rather than getting funding and creating the app and then finding out that nobody wants it. Fail as fast as you can, definitely.
But a good test of that, and we've seen that in the DC with other guys, is Kickstarter is not bad for these type of broad solutions. Like Persona is very targeted, right? It's content marketers, inbound marketers, right? Dyslexia apps, like I don't know what the percentage of kids that have dyslexia or humans that have dyslexia is, but it's like, let's just say it's 1 in 100. So that's 1 in 100 parents that are interested in this, but you don't know unless they're involved in some dyslexia group or something, right? So I would think that would be a great Kickstarter campaign, because it's not apps backer and apps funder are app focused campaigns. Kickstarter is anything, right? You want something to, like, a molecule tester, go to Kickstarter. You want to make a movie, go to Kickstarter. I think this is a broad enough appeal and not a bad way to test the market for something as broad as this. Yeah. 20 grand. Yeah, that's Kickstarter for sure, I would say. If you're not ready to go to your network and pre-sell it, which you probably don't know the pricing yet, I would say it's a Kickstarter campaign, which is cool, because then you get your marketing hat on and your sales hat on, and you start figuring it out with
yeah, and you do the hard thing, which is, in that case, is the marketing and is the sales. You do it first, you know. So I mean, once you get that done, everything else is just a matter of execution. You just need to do it, but you already have the money, so that could be.
That's where getting the beta for test flight last night was huge, because it's like,
yeah,
okay, I'm not going to fail on this. Like, I'm going to take their money and deliver. I mean, I have no problem refunding the money, but it's more just embarrassing. So that was a huge sigh of relief last night to go, okay, this is exactly how I wanted it at this point. So, yeah. I missed the first part of the show today, but wondered, what are your thoughts on how Apple will deal with videos in the review process? I don't think it's going to be required. I don't know. We don't know. We speculated. On Monday, Kevin, you'll hear us talk for 2 hours, and around the 45-minute mark, David's like, oh, this is hard. Of course, English is his second language, but like, I was just in a comfortable seat talking the whole time. But yeah, we talk about all this stuff for 2 hours for Monday's podcast because we felt it was a big deal. I don't think it's going to be required. I don't know that, but just because precedent is Google and they don't require videos. But I have to think that having a video has got to be into their rankings, because it's such a sign of quality, and it helps them get past all the reskinning, filter out all the crap. But I'm not sure. I don't know about that. I mean, if it were Google, it'd be like how many video plays and all these things. But I don't think Apple is as sophisticated when it comes to that kind of stuff. So,
well, the question was regarding the review process, right? So I think in the review process shouldn't be that much of a problem.
Like reviewed meaning required, or
I don't think it's required.
Yeah, but maybe it's review like, hey, if your video really sucks, we're going to deny it. I don't know.
Well, if you look at what people do with their screenshots right now, I wouldn't expect that from them.
Yeah,
so
no, I agree.
Videos are limited to 30 seconds. That's good to know. I didn't check that actually, so I was expecting them to be short, but it's good to know that there are 30 seconds, and you probably want to be lower than that if you can.
Hey Ryan, you're ASO guy. What other things do you know about the video and stuff? I know maybe it's speculation, but do you have any good resources, or do you have a blog that you're doing that is capturing your thoughts? Yeah, because we do have a resident ASO guy who he focuses on ASO, so he should have some good insight to this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, if you do, will you post it into the chat roll? That would be cool, like any links or whatever. But this is something we're going to be covering in depth on the podcast. So,
yeah. Kevin has a follow-up question regarding the video. So he thinks there's got to be some guidelines. Yeah, there will for sure. And the problem is, I think they're all behind the developer login, so we can't really talk about them under NDA. But because I haven't looked yet, I can freely speculate, which means.
And Kevin's got a developer account; he can go look too. But I want to hear your speculation.
Right. So I think there's going to be the usual no porn, no, there's this usual PETA rating or whatever it is. So it's going to be family friendly and all that stuff. But other than that, other than the usual content regulations, I don't see what guidelines there should be on a video. Maybe you need to show your app in a video or something like that. But I mean, nothing that I wouldn't think isn't obvious anyways. So I hope this answers the question.
I could see people submitting apps and then using the video space to advertise like some affiliate link or something. So we'll see how people spam, this new thing. But you know, uh, Dumas, I'm following a lot of his stuff because I've been involved. We joined Podcast Paradise, and then I'm doing the forum or the Academy. Um, and he went out to Apple because he's one of their top podcasters, and he can share this data, but he doesn't have the slides. I've been to those type of meetings where they show all sorts of stats they don't want you to necessarily have the data for, but 45 million searches a month on in iTunes. Now that's across music and everything, but this is becoming a massive search engine. So I'm sure the abuse of these things is going to become even bigger. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool to be growing with this whole thing. Hey, Ryan, send us the link to Gab's thing. I think I saw it on Facebook, but
Yeah,
if you
let's
don't
give a
mind.
shout out to Gabriel. He's
Oh,
awesome.
ASL Professional. There you go.
Yeah, he's doing some good work there. So there's going to be a webinar next week. So by the time this airs on the podcast, try to get on it. I'm not sure if it's already done or not. That's aslprofessional.com, and I'm trying to find the webinar there. Just sign up for the email list just to be sure. But what Ryan is saying is that there's going to be a webinar about the changes in regards to analytics, in regards to ASO and all that kind of stuff. So that'd be very cool.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be analytics, is what Ryan says, meaning that you see how many impressions your app gets versus how many downloads it gets.
Oh, wow.
So that's gonna be huge.
That's a huge missing data point. So now you can say, is my icon the thing
Thanks,
that's
Ryan.
not converting? Yeah, Ryan. That's going to be great. Well, hey, Ryan, I'm trying to find, I'm going onto the Facebook groups and stuff. I don't see Gab's link to the actual webinar. I know I've seen it before. I think I even signed up, but I'm not seeing it anywhere. So if you could send that, just so we can get it live. Or you know what? I have him on Facebook. I can. Well, anyways, we can figure this out. But
maybe we put it on the website or something, or send it to our mailing list, because I think that's really cool. That's massive, yeah.
Yeah, that will be really. Man, ASO is about to take the next step, which will be really exciting.
Yeah. Wow. iTunes dashboard. Ryan, why don't we have you on this hangout? I can't. That'd be awesome.
Or let's get you on the podcast soon.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Hey, this is gonna be massive if we can have all those analytics going on there, Google Analytics style, but for our downloads. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be huge.
Yeah, that's been a missing piece for a long time. Is you can kind of guess what keywords that are driving your downloads because you can see where you rank and you can kind of guess the traffic. But now to be able to put numbers on all that is going to be a huge next step. So, okay, Ryan, thanks, man. Yeah, so man, everyone get ready because this is where everything takes off. I really feel like that. I mean, I don't mean to be overly pumped up and excited about it. iOS 7, new designs, ho hum, who cares, But
Yeah,
iOS 8, man, this is real. This is time to go take our businesses to the next level. So I'm sure glad I did Golden Beauty Meter 2 years ago.
I think that's a good way to end this episode. We should get back to working on on our businesses, and you should too. There's going to be an episode on Monday. It's going to be very long. It's going to be 2 hours long, covering the whole WWDC, and then there's also going to be a follow-up interview with Patrice Archer, who we had on the show 3 or 4 times before, and then there's going to be an interview with the Hoodie CEO, which I'm quite excited about. So stay tuned, and yeah, talk to you next week, Chris. Thanks.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.